Coming up on Now See This. A hostage taker on a bus figures he's in the driver's seat. But justice is waiting at the next stop. Convicted felons ride raging bulls. Because getting knocked down is better than getting locked up. And police in Georgia confront a suspect
Felt a large object inside his pocket.
who's guilty of naked aggression. Whether it's dusty or damp, frozen or fiery, conditions are perfect for action. Think you've seen it all? Now see this. It's chaos in a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. A family sedan smashed into wreckage, a dump truck overturned in a heap, and two men in the street facing off like gladiators. What turned this otherwise peaceful neighborhood into a war zone? Earlier in the day, this dump truck was stolen by a suspect with a 20-year career in crime. The man lives up to his bad reputation as he takes police and news choppers on a perilous chase through rush hour traffic. He blows through red lights, plows aside innocent motorists, and charges into oncoming traffic. Behind the wheel of the 13-ton truck, the suspect appears unstoppable. But he's about to meet his match. Local homeowner Doug Click, who's following the action on TV.
I didn't think much of it, other than this guy was kind of a nut trying to steal a dump truck.
But when Doug leaves his house, he sees the giant dump truck barreling by at 70 miles an hour.
I thought, this guy's going to crash and really hurt somebody.
Seconds later, Doug's fear becomes a horrifying reality.
Oh, he just slammed into that sedan!
The truck decimates the front of the sedan. Inside, a family of 5, including 3 children.
When I saw him go over that car, I thought the people were dead.
The dump truck careens out of control, smashing through a light post, then toppling and skidding to a halt.
I just couldn't believe what I was seeing in my city at that time.
Doug grows more alarmed when the suspect emerges from the wreck, unscathed.
I figured he was going to be looking for another car.
Blood boiling, Doug grabs an aluminum bat from his van and charges after the felon.
I've always been more of a type A personality.
The suspect is also armed with bolt cutters, but that doesn't faze Doug. After all, not only was his dad a cop, Doug is also a world-class cage fighter.
I was not afraid one bit.
Simply put, this dump truck bandit had riled the wrong man.
He was in for some trouble, because he was not going to get through me.
The 2 men take vicious swings with their weapons. Finally, Doug pins the suspect against a pylon.
When I got it in close, I hit him in the face with the baseball bat, and then I hit him in the back of the head 3 or 4 times with the baseball bat, and he wouldn't stop. He just kept fighting and fighting.
But Doug holds the man at bay long enough for the police to arrive.
They weren't exactly sure who I was at that point, so I was more than willing to just back off and let them do their job.
While they subdue the suspect, other officers check on the family of 5. Miraculously, they have all gathered on the street corner, shaken but unharmed. In the days following the harrowing ordeal, Doug is both hailed as a hero and criticized for taking the law into his own hands.
There's been a few people saying that I'm a vigilante, but I'm not. I wasn't looking for this. It just fell on my doorstep. If everybody would get involved a little bit more, we'd have a lot less problems.
On one of the hottest days of summer in Thailand, a crazed man's rage has boiled over. He's hijacked a city bus and taken a young woman hostage at knife point. Her life is his bargaining chip as the hijacker announces his demands. He wants a gun and a getaway car, or he'll kill the girl. Negotiators have no choice. They bring him a revolver. The hijacker uses the girl as a shield as he creeps up to take the weapon. but he senses he's being manipulated. The bus is like a pressure cooker as the negotiators try to convince the distressed man they're on his side, and that a getaway car is waiting nearby. All he has to do is come get the gun. The hijacker orders them to leave the weapon on a seat and move away. Now, not only can he hurt the girl, he can hurt anyone in the pistol's range. But the police have an ace up their sleeve. One of the officers opens the bus's middle door, offering the hijacker an escape route. Between the hostage, the weapons, and the possibility of freedom, the man is overloaded. And that's when it happens. Through one of the open windows, an officer stealthily leans in with a baton and blindsides the hijacker. The police swarm the bus and subdue the stunned man. He's baffled. During the siege, he pulled the gun's trigger over and over. But the weapon never fired, and the officers didn't even flinch. That's because before they gave him the gun, they took out all the bullets. The heat of the day pushed an already troubled man to the melting point. But thanks to a brilliant plan by police, he's off to a much cooler climate. Jail. Derek Brady expects to hurt.
Sit down.
He's a motocross racer who's learned to live with bruises, scratches, and lots of bloody wounds. Lucky for him, his girlfriend digs scars.
It's exciting to go and watch them race and to hit the jumps. I was more worried, I guess, because he'll jump anything that he sees.
See all the gases.
His rule of thumb is, if the cuts have closed, it's safe to get back on the bike. Here he is just 2 months later in the Las Vegas desert, riding straight into more trouble. A makeshift ramp launches Derek 35 feet into the air, much higher than he expected, causing him to lose his grip and control of the bike. He's one with the dirt, and his girlfriend thinks he's dead.
It was scary because it kind of went in slow motion. Like, I saw it happening, but I don't even really know how I ran over to him. I was just like...
The boy is a banged up mess, but he's alive. Derek is lifted onto a gurney and told he's going to need major surgery.
Laying in the hospital, fractured ankle and fractured the third vertebrae of his back.
The first month I was pretty much bed rest, and then after that I was walking around a lot more, and now it's almost been 3 months.
His back and leg are slowly healing on their own, but his ankle is a busted mess. A metal plate and 5 screws are holding it together. At this point, he probably wouldn't make it through an airport metal detector, but that's okay. This daredevil will be sticking close to home and healing with the help of his girlfriend. The fall damaged his beloved dirt bike and his body, but it didn't destroy his love for motocross.
Case of bad luck, and I'll be back at it when I heal up.
In Hazel Park, Michigan, police respond to an urgent situation that threatens to become explosive. A car has been spotted in a parking lot on fire, and the driver is locked inside, unconscious. There's no time for delicacy. Even as backup cruisers are still arriving, hard-charging Officer Sean Boucher smashes out a window. As flames consume the undercarriage, Officer Jason Porta rushes in to help Boucher. Together, they pull the still unconscious man from his car. And not a moment too soon. Within seconds of getting the driver clear, the whole car goes up in a 4-wheel inferno. Officers retreat to the safety of their cruisers, backing away from the blazing wreck. With fire crews on the way, the only thing now is to make sure everyone stays clear and to get to the bottom of what happened.
Whole thing went up about 1 minute after we got him out of there.
Suddenly, just off camera, the victim begins to stir. Officer Michael Grigsby tries to coax him awake.
There's almost you blazing a big ball of flame there. How you feeling?
Well, I don't know yet.
The man is slow in coming around, but Grigsby already has an idea of what caused this mess.
Other than being intoxicated, are you alright? You blacked out or what? What was the last thing you remember tonight? You was too hammered to drive, so you decided to pull over or something?
I didn't drive.
It's an answer that many drunks give, but somehow this driver seems to be getting more and more lucid with each passing second.
That's my car. It's on fire.
He's sobering up faster than these officers have ever seen. Even before the fire department douses the flames, the man has fully revived. And officers learn a surprising truth. The guy they saved is no drunk driver. He's actually a heart patient on medication. He's also a father who's working 2 full-time jobs to save money for his daughter's college fund. After an 80-hour week, he had stopped for a casual after-work drink. But when he got back into his car and turned the key, the combination of alcohol and medication overcame him and plunged him into a deep sleep that nearly cost him his life. His foot fell on the accelerator, and the revving engine got so hot that a cylinder ruptured, igniting the oil pan. By the time the fire is out, the man has come around, and he knows he owes his life to the quick-acting officers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And these officers get the added satisfaction of knowing they saved a man who had everything to live for. An entire apartment building in Houston is roaring with fire, all because someone left their stove on and walked away. But Captain James Dillon isn't worried about how the blaze started. His concern is putting it out.
We had a lot of fire showing, and we could tell right away that we're going to have our work cut out for us.
Wind stopping 30 miles an hour fueled the flames into overdrive, forcing Dillon's men to work fast and furious, despite the danger that could lurk through every doorway. A 3-man team attacks the top floor with hoses, but they don't get far. Clifford Reed, a 34-year vet, a year from retirement, is one of the 3 firefighters who disappears into the fiery debris as a 140-square-foot slab of roof collapses. Captain Dillon is in shock. He saw it all like it was in slow motion.
Well, I was very concerned, and I immediately tried to pull back and look over the top and underneath of the section that collapsed.
For a frightening 10 seconds, the captain can't hear his men. Then, finally, Clifford calls out. Colleagues race to his side.
Time of the incident, you see a lot of debris falling. You're not sure exactly what has happened.
Thick smoke and debris cloud the captain's view, making it impossible for him to see that Clifford and his colleagues escaped safely through a doorway.
When the smoke cleared from the area, we were able to see and also speak to the firefighters and verify that they were okay.
Protective clothing saved the crew from the falling flames. But just as important was the trust they had in each other.
You know the guys that are with you are going to come get you out. We don't thank the people we work with near enough.
The fire is out in less than an hour, and no one is hurt. It's the kind of ending the captain and his men can be proud of.
This is a good example for the public to see the kind of courage and bravery that firefighters have, and hopefully we all take the time to appreciate that there's someone out here that can help you when you need help, and that's us.
In Boca Raton, Florida, a van has just plunged into a watery sinkhole, and it's going down fast.
Looked like it was a foot or 2 deep. It was about a good 8 feet deep of water, much more than I anticipated.
Shock driver Hank Schiffer has no time to figure out how he got in this mess. He only has seconds before he gets pulled under with his vehicle. But there's a problem. Hank's 2 dogs are also in the van, and only Hank can get them out. Incredibly, all of them make it to safety, just as the van gets sucked down. Everyone on the scene is left wondering, how could something like this have happened? Now with the new van, Hank tells how he headed out on an errand that morning with his canine pals, Smokey and Scooby. He had no idea that just a few blocks away, a water main had burst, causing an 8-foot deep crater in the middle of the street. And Hank drives straight into it.
The chances of this happening, I bet in the whole state of Florida, this has never happened once.
Before he could even react, his van was window deep in the murky water.
I mean, it came in fast. I just wanted to get the dogs out because I knew they didn't know what to do.
Hank refuses to leave his sinking vehicle without his dogs.
Smokey was swimming, and he had his snout just above the water, so I turned and grabbed him.
As the van goes under, the final rush of escaping air spews water into Hank's face. Somehow, he holds on and pulls Smokey free. But Scooby is now trapped under the surface.
I had to feel around underneath the water to find Scooby because he was underwater already. And I felt him, and then I grabbed him and pulled him out.
Witnesses hoist all three onto solid ground, panting, but alive. The van may be a lost cause, but it's replaceable. The same couldn't be said if he had lost two of his best friends.
Thank God I got him out just in time. I didn't want them to pay for my mistake.
The traffic stop. 99% of them are the most boring part of an officer's day. It's the other 1% that Corporal Chad Payne worries about.
Instincts, the sixth sense or what have you is a very big part of my job. And you know, after doing this, I've been doing this for 11 years, and you have to rely on your instincts.
Moments ago, this car was swerving down the highway through Payne's town of Warner Robins, Georgia. And now he wants to find out why.
This may be someone that may be impaired by drinking or consuming some type of illegal drugs or whatever.
On the lookout for clues, Payne does see a six-pack in the car, but none of the cans are open, and the driver doesn't appear drunk.
You ain't had nothing to drink, have you? No, I just bought me a toothpaste. Huh? I just bought me a toothpaste.
As Payne's backup arrives, he tries to get a read on the suspect.
The reason I stopped you when you were coming down Leverett, you riding all over the yellow line. Oh, I was missing that radio, see my light. Okay, you messing with the radio? Yeah.
It's a reasonable explanation, and yet the driver's body language puts Payne on alert.
I could tell he was pretty nervous at this point.
Is the man hiding something? Payne is suspicious, but the driver is lucid, open, and most importantly, cooperative.
You mind taking a couple field sobriety tests for me? If everything checks out, you'll be on your way.
Maybe this guy is just a regular Joe who's nervous about getting a traffic ticket. But there's just one more question.
I just simply ask him, you know, for my protection, can I pat you down and make sure you don't have any weapons on you before we start these tests?
You got any packages?
Backup rushes in, grabbing a handful of the driver's shorts. But this slippery suspect isn't going down that easy. And suddenly the guy who seemed to be hiding something has no place left to hide it.
So I called the dispatcher and I gave him a lookout on the person running through the woods with in his black underwear.
When the struggle spilled into the street, both officers latch on to the man's baggy clothing. It's classic takedown training. One officer goes high, one goes low. But the suspect squeezes out in the middle, leaving his entire ensemble in their grasp. When the man disappears into the nearby woods, police reconverge on the crime scene. It looks like a clothing store exploded in the roadway. But Payne isn't looking for a bargain. He's looking for an answer.
It was several ounces of cocaine in his pocket.
In his haste, the suspect left his coke and his clothes in the officer's hands. And that's not all. He also left his wallet with his license and address.
We had some officers go to his house, and it took him about 30 minutes, but he came out of the woods and, you know, in his underwear, the mosquitoes and all, I guess, started to get to him, but he came out.
It proves to be an impressive bust. The man gets sentenced to 15 years for trafficking in narcotics. But Payne's buddies on the force won't let him forget how he uncovered this crime.
They, tease me about it quite a bit now that, if we catch somebody with cocaine, we're going to take everything, even their clothes.
This is the uniquely American sport of rodeo. It's dangerous, unpredictable, and as wild as the animals these men try to ride. The cowboy contestants of most rodeos may get hurt from time to time, but they usually walk away with a lot of cash and sometimes even big-time endorsement deals. But this is not your average rodeo. This is a prison rodeo. And by the end of the day, the bulls aren't the only ones getting locked up. Every one of these amateur cowboys is an inmate in the Oklahoma penal system. And getting crushed is part of the price they gladly pay to get out of jail for a couple of days. They're desperate men who now desperately cling to the backs of raging broncos, wild bulls, and angry steers, for nothing more than the bragging rights of being called champion. The Oklahoma Prisoner Rodeo has all the ordinary events, but what really sets it apart from other rodeos is this contest. They call it Money the Hard Way, and that is an understatement.
Who wants the money? Who wants the money? Whoa, did he get it? Did he get it?
The object is to grab a pouch of cash from between the horns of an enraged bull.
They're going to keep him up in the corner. They're going to take it. This guy wants out of here. He wants out of here. He got it. He got it. You bet.
The amount? A paltry $200.
This guy says, come get it.
Hardly enough for most men to risk their lives. But in jail, that's big money. And more importantly, it's honest money.
Oh, he's still sitting, flopping around. Ooh, man,
it goes to the one who's smart enough or quick enough to avoid 1,500 pounds of snarling beef. And who knows? Maybe avoiding trouble in the search of honest cash can be a valuable lesson these guys will take home with them after they're back on the streets. The diligent rescuer, the expectant mother, the officer with a plan. Three heroes unite to save a trio of innocent victims trapped in a storm drain. These brave souls will never give up.
You did?
Until every last baby duck is free. The first duckling comes willingly and is quickly reunited with his family. The other two, however, are far more skeptical.
Here, duck. Duck, duck, duck. Duck, duck, goose.
Initially, the rescuers try to sweet-talk the little birds.
Hello.
But the ducklings refuse to budge. After all, their mamas always told them, never trust anything that doesn't quack. The humans decide to try a more obnoxious tactic. While the woman makes a racket at her end of the drain, the sympathizing mother-to-be waits with a net on the other side.
Come on.
The plan works. One of the ducklings waddles right into the net. And a moment later, he too rejoins the flock. But the last duckling won't be flushed out so easily. Even when he is driven to the other end of the drain, the little guy proves to be slippery as an eel.
Nope.
Yet once the fireman waves a pair of big red pincers at him, the stubborn bird finally gets corralled.
That's it.
In the end, the little duck runs crying to his mother. As for the humans, seeing the feathered family reunited makes all their troubles worthwhile.
I'm much happier saving ducks than sitting in an office all day.
Anatomy of an extreme snowboarder. Part surfer, part skier, all rebel. Lately, their beloved sport has become commercialized, homogenized, and popularized. So popular, it's even in the Olympics. But there's a revolution in the air. A group of snowboarders called freeriders are taking their sport back from corporate America. From the White Mountains of New Hampshire to the Colorado Rockies, the rebel spirit lives on as freeriders ditch the snowboard parks to blaze their own trails. Let the newcomers play down in the half pipes. It's a bigger rush barreling down an untamed mountainside. Or even better, flying down. Freeriders will catch air over anything. Hills, rocks, fences, and even cliffs. Up here, there aren't any judges keeping score, but freeriders will execute some killer 360s anyway, just for kicks. And while greenhorns get their jollies on man-made moguls, these dudes risk life and limb slaloming down rocky slopes. One bad move or slip, and a rider can crash headlong into a tree or plummet off the mountain. But that doesn't slow them down one bit. After all, they're original rebels leading a snowboarding revolution. And if you don't want to play, stay out of their way.